Great. Hi, Scott. Welcome to Awakening It in Truth. And hi, everyone.
All that we're doing when she laughs is because, to get the show going, because we have fun talking about things, I have to just start the recording. And then Perry comes in and says, hi, everyone, as the master of ceremonies, as the hostess. I'm a guest on these radio shows. So, and I'm always appreciative of what Perry does to have the courage to do them, because it takes courage. If I could say that these shows were designed around me charging money to Perry or money to the people that watch them, it would be a whole different ball game, and I wouldn't be able to reveal what I reveal on these radio shows. It would not be possible for me to reveal that and charge money for it, because that's an Earth system. So this kind
Since
of
the beginning,
say,
yeah.
how's he doing it? Where's he get this from? And that. I wasn't born under a rock yesterday. And
we were talking about. We were talking about.
We were talking about the fact that when you see this image, it's
here.
round.
Here we are.
It looks flat, but it's round. It has depth this way and that way and that way and this way. And each one of those layers of colors of the spectrum of light, which are not light as you know it, not molecular, not matter, and neither is light, matter. Behind what you see as visible light is the hue expansion ray, blended with the omnipresent first sound. And it supports all creations that float in it, that are material, atomic, nuclear, atoms, electrons, protons, all that. Each one of those layers contains memory of lives you've lived and are running, either now or in the past, in the dimensions of time and space, from the physical, astral, causal, mental, and etheric, in one of 100 or more of 144 parallel dimensions on planets in all of those levels. That means the being that we really are, that isn't the body that runs a brain and body, has this wisdom, this knowledge, this understanding of all the lives they've ever lived to one day awaken and become a co-creator with the source. Because that's what people call the human soul. They think it's something like this body. It's not. It isn't a body. It's not a human body DNA, twin-stranded DNA with shut down genomes on half of it. No. It's the being, the soul, what people call soul, who on Earth don't have a clue what it is. Talk to anybody, ask them what it is, tell them to describe what it's shaped like and how to move it around. They can't do it. But they should know how to do it. So Earth is not normal. It's not a normal human planet at all yet. It isn't. What people call nature on Earth is not normal. Animals tearing each other apart and then humans eating animals and killing. It's not natural. It's something that was perverted in the consciousness of beings long ago in galactic history. When people get out into space for real, they're going to find planets and worlds much different than Earth, who don't do what people on Earth do. And the nature on those worlds do not do what people see them do on Earth. Animals in nature on Earth do what they do because of the higher evolved species of humankind. What they do to each other is what animals take their guidance from. They emulate it. They mimic it. Because humans are supposed to be the conscious custodians of planets and animals and plants. And they're supposed to be kind and benevolent. And they're not, except to their own pets. But the rest of life, they could give a crap. They don't care. That's a problem. To transform a planet that's that backward cannot be done by the beings living on it who are that backward. They're not conscious enough to fix it before they destroy it. This has to be done by fellow beings who have not been trapped and put on Earth, who will come here and who are coming here now to help change the consciousness of the leaders of this planet, the classified people, the religious people, all the plants, all the animals. It's much bigger than this self-centered egos of people on Earth. The universe is big. Life and human life out in other worlds is vast. When people really come to know this truth, which is still classified to this day, this world will change virtually overnight, and in ways that people can't even comprehend right now, including the leaders on this planet, who are in more fear about decisions they make than we are, the common people. And because they're making decisions based on fear, the way they grew up, running governments, they're making mistakes. Fear is a misdirected, negative, artificial, implanted emotional charge. And it's subconscious, so it misdirects the decision-making of these leaders on this earth constantly. Because of that, when they pour money into certain things to try to fix things, it doesn't work. It backfires. Then they throw more money into stuff, classified, more money into weapons, more money into this, more pollution, more degradation of their own being. Because thinking in fear, making decisions based on subconscious drives, can only produce negative repercussions in space-time. It is pure physical hard science. They claim to know on Earth, but don't understand it. Every action, thought, and emotion creates an equal but opposite reaction in space-time. In the void of space, it affects the atmosphere of the planet. So I say this with some strength and knowing certainty, because it is that channel of this omnipresent first sound through me and around me that can connect to the real being that's running bodies that don't remember who they are and begin to wake that up. This is how this works, really. The omnipresent energy that is out in space between planets and moons and suns and galaxies and different dimensions, all the way up through the planes, across the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth, and up into the higher realities, is one energy. If people try to analyze the energy behind matter, what people call the God particle in the CERN Super Collider, the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland, just as an example on Earth, not a very good one, but at least it's beginning. That energy cannot be analyzed and broken down in different levels of frequency like matter. You can't analyze and work with energy of the universe, 0 point or toroidal, that way. It doesn't respond that way. It is a living conscious energy in which material things and matter and people and bodies float on planets that make gravity and galaxies that make gravity and that affect each other. And it's up through the dimensions. Until people on Earth begin to understand they have to work with this one energy, this void of space is not void at all. It's packed full of a type of living energy. If you want to use that energy, you can put that kind of energy through devices that can even be created on Earth, and some are, and it will utilize that energy to get you through interdimensional doorways from here to another star in a matter of minutes or hours, because it is not energy that is time and space. It's not limited by time and space. Until people start to understand this, as other races, many out in the universes have, people on Earth will be grounded to this planet, stuck with rocket ships, and they're never going to get anywhere. They can't even take a rocket ship from here to Mars. The people would not survive the journey 2 years each way. They would not. And although it's classified, Russian and United States people already understand this, because human bodies atrophy in zero gravity. You'd have to have a craft that produces at least artificial gravity, environment for beautiful nature. You'd have to have exercise areas and people to socialize to make such journeys. And even then, the journeys are so laboriously long. With rockets, only take a ship so fast, and they shut them off and they coast 2 years each way. How utterly boring that would be. I would never get on a ship like that and spend 4 years of my life getting to and from a planet in our solar system. Are they kidding? Are they nuts? Even thinking like that is a bit of crazy. So I guess the reason I'm sharing this with you all is because certain people in classified arenas on Earth understand this. They already know it. There's some good people in those arenas. They're not all bad. You know, there's people that have grown up on a world full of fear. They're not taught any of this growing up, how to leave their body as a being. They don't even know they're not this. They think their imagination comes from their brain. It's hilarious to me because it doesn't at all. There is no mechanism in the brain cells that can, for instance, one side of your brain shows a motion picture and projects it on the brain cells of the other side so you can see something. That's ridiculous. That's not what a brain does. It's not what it's designed to do. When people imagine something, the being that is spherical, that is not made of nuclear or atomic energy, is part of that 1 0-point energy, sees it somewhere in the multiverse. And unconsciously, they'll filter it through the brain. So the brain goes, oh, I'm writing about other planets, and there's Star Wars, and there's this, and there's that. They don't realize that this brain that grew up on Earth doesn't have the ability to imagine that, never could make it up. It never learned any of it growing up, so how can it just come up with it? It doesn't come up with it. The being unconsciously will go in a trance type state, very highly concentrated. I write the same way. I have to actually be out there in the universe experiencing what I'm writing about. The difference is I know I'm doing it. Other writers and people on Earth don't yet know that's what they're doing. They can be very good at it and still not know. So we want to take the next step. For people on Earth, the human body does not need to evolve more. Leave it alone. There are genomes shut down on the DNA done long ago in galactic history and long ago in Earth history, and people have been procreating, making bodies with shut down genomes. They used to call it junk DNA, but it isn't. They're just switches. The genomes on the DNA that make it up are switches. They are accessed by precise sound frequencies or precise frequencies. They're turned off or on like a switch, like a bit in a computer. If you turn on one that says you will die roughly around 87 years old of pulmonary fibrosis, you turn that off, or a few of them, and turn on I will live 1,000 years, and the telomeres on my DNA will not shrink when they duplicate. They will not. It's mechanical. It's higher science. Higher science than Earth people understand yet, but they're getting there. They know the genomes are a type of a switch. They're just trying to figure out how to play with them. They're trying to use chemicals, targeted genome, what do they call it? I guess genome therapy and stuff like that. They're trying to use that, but it's a very awkward way to go about it because they really need to be working with sound, frequencies. And they need to understand it because then they could create devices that would turn on the problem areas, turn off genes that cause cancer. They wouldn't need chemicals and all this laborious billions of dollars spent trying to figure this out. They're using technologies on people now that kill most people. Radiation, chemotherapy, all that. They're trying their best, but it's really not the way to go about it. A person's got a damaged immune system that doesn't work. So what do? Shut it down. And you do targeted gene therapy to try to fix a problem. Then you try to kickstart the immune system back on. A lot of times they won't come back on. People will die with bald and throwing up in a hospital. It's ridiculous. But they don't know how to approach this any better. I don't blame them. I'm not an enemy of these people. They're their own enemy. Their ignorance of life beyond Earth is the biggest problem they all have. As long as governments and people continue to think that lying to people is healthy and good for an elite, they're going to make so many mistakes until they ruin this planet permanently. The planet will survive. It'll shake off life on it like a dog throws a bone and recover, but life will not. If they radiate this planet anymore, it will not recover. The planet would have to be taken over by extraterrestrials, cleaned and repopulated. That's the truth of it. There is no future for people on Earth the way they are in space. I make this very clear as a fellow being who cares about people on Earth, all the people, government people, kings and queens, I don't care who they are, classified, CIA, NSI, NSA, whatever they are, military, industrial complex, doesn't matter. They are beings running bodies and they don't know this. That's the biggest problem. Because they don't remember this for whatever reason, their decision making is like working on trying to get out into space on one thruster when you need 8. Or driving a car with 6 cylinders and 2 of them, the spark plugs aren't working. You're going to make mistakes. Lots of them. So we need the assistance of, the kind assistance of advanced beings, many of them human, who are willing to provide it, who do not live on this planet, and who have mastered these sciences, and they understand what zero-point energy really is. If you want the short road to get out in space and have it, the carpet laid out for us to do it, they can provide that. But we have to be willing to change to work together properly before they will allow us to play among the stars. I want to make that perfectly clear. We are not going to be allowed to play among the stars the way we are on this planet. Too destructive, dishonest, deceptive, fear-ridden? No. We're not going to take our religions out there and promote them on other people. They're way ahead of us. We're not going to take our puny science out there and throw our nuclear and radioactive materials on them. No, because they're outlawed. We're never going to be able to play in space properly that way amongst other people unless we know how to play nice. It's common sense, just common sense. Kind advanced races are not going to tolerate people like us going out there and militarizing space. Are you kidding? The Earth's solar system, where Earth is quarantined by the races. It means that we aren't going to be able to do anything until we can be trusted to do it. We're kind, respectful of other beings and each other. It starts with us being respectful of each other on this planet. Different races, different religions. It doesn't matter what a person believes. It matters more what they really know and experience for themselves. When faith is taken into knowing, the faith is no longer needed because they have a direct communication and link with the source behind all life awakened, and they know. And belief is not necessary. More advanced races understand this. When I have started this work that I do on this planet some few years ago, I didn't start it with any illusion or delusion that I'm working alone in this. I have many associates that are not from this planet on many dimensional levels. Some of them are great master teachers, great scientists, kind people, human, live much longer than humans on Earth, the bodies they're running. But they know who they are. That is not a body. That's number one. When you do that and you know that, your wisdom, your IQ, your intelligence in running a body just goes through the roof. They run 100% of a 100% developed brain instead of 6 to 10% like people on Earth are said to use. That's ridiculous. Why do they only use 6 to 10%? Because they're not aware enough to know how to turn on those other functions in the body they're running. They've been made to forget that. Somewhere in their past, before they found themselves incarnated on this planet as a baby, they were made to forget all that. And they're terrified to review what happened to them because they've been told it'll happen to them again if they ever remember who did it to them. That's subconscious programming. And people have to get into a position with kind beings, advanced beings, that will give them a safe environment and really know what they're doing to help them go and look at what happened, like on a screen. They don't have to relive being killed or tortured to death. They need to see it so that they can put it away as a memory and not have to react subconsciously off that terror every day of their lives on Earth. This is just higher science.
That we can read in the series of Jinda's book.
Yeah.
And I went through this stage already, so everybody should read the book to understand more.
If people think that I'm doing this to make millions of dollars as an author, they are quite badly mistaken. I've spent far more money and time and lives and years to get these books out to the world, far more than I've ever made from them. Understand this, at least so far. That could change. But this is the planet Saturn, a big gas giant in our solar system. These are big chunks of ice or water that make up the rings of Saturn. A ship far, far, far away from Earth is stationed there permanently. It's a mile long, it's cylindrical, and has a bridge control on each end. And these are disc-shaped scout craft that come out of the central section of that ship. They don't have open launch bays. The electromagnetic field, the gravitational field around these craft can change their molecular time rate so they can pass right through the metal hull. In the back of this book are techniques separate from the actual story of Mark Sanfield and Janice Carter and how they recover who they are. They're just human beings living on Earth who are made to forget like everyone else. But they go through an unexpected process with beings not from Earth in order to recover that. And in the back are techniques which work with what's revealed in this book so that people on Earth can begin to recover that. That's why this was written.
Scott, can I share? Okay.
It's more about what is taking place out in the universe people on Earth don't know about. Even the classified people know very little about this amongst the more advanced races out in our galaxy. And what they're doing now that they've never done before, and Earth is in the path of what they're doing. There isn't any power, government, or technology on Earth that's going to prevent what's heading through this solar system now for the first time. And that's a good thing because otherwise we'd all be dead from nuclear war already anyway.
Scott, before you go to the next book, can I mention about my experience to remove secondary implant for people who watch our shows?
But when you do it, be careful. I'm only one person on this planet. I'm not capable of or have time to do that for all 7 billion people personally. What I do is introduce people to friends of mine from other worlds, human, that are experts at this, that do that and can work with people every night when they leave their body, because every night people do. They're just not aware that's what they're doing.
So in this case, maybe they have their own experience better.
Right.
You know, read the book and read the whole book. You know, not only some chapters not working like that. You have to read the whole book to understand and to have your own experience.
It gives you a grounded understanding of what is changing out there and how it's going to affect you here, how to work with it, how to get in touch with it, how to communicate with fellow beings not from Earth safely. There's no negative emotions or negative imagination involved in my work anywhere whatsoever. When I say that, people go, huh? What did you just say? They think I'm just fibbing about that or something. I'm not. I don't get people attacking the internet or classified military industrial complex bugging me and men in black showing up the door and say, Scott, stop doing what you're doing. Never, ever. Why? I've stated this years ago, and it's still true to this day. Why? People should really contemplate on why, because they could be living this way as well. What people don't know on Earth is that through the misuse of the imagination and emotions, they create negative scenarios about the present and future that connect them to being repressed or played with in this way. If you don't do that, there isn't any way anybody can connect with you that way. It supersedes the simple powers of people on Earth, what they think is power. It is the energy behind that creation that supports planet Earth that I'm in touch with, that I work with consciously. And people on Earth have the ability, whether they know it or not, as the being, not the body, to recover this awareness. That is the basis of my work and reason for why I do what I do. That's at the core of it. In order to do what I do here, I had to awaken and acquire and recover this awareness, this wisdom, this knowledge elsewhere, not on earth, because it's not taught on earth. In any university, by any guru or any teacher that I know of, is revealing to people when they're growing up any of this that is involved in my work, because it isn't. And this is done deliberately out in galactic history. And it was a perverted misuse of science by tyrant beings long ago, and they've been stopped. They've been sent back home away from Earth. So Earth now has the capability to change in dramatic ways for the first time. So now you share your experience, because I want to make sure there's a grounded understanding there for people who may be tuning in for the first time.
It happened maybe a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, because at that time we just started to have a show together. And then it's time for me to remove the secondary implant. Before that, I have many, like many bags, fear, a lot of fears in myself. So once the secondary implant have removed, I start to change completely. But during the time that my implants was removed, I could feel, as physical body, I could feel like what happened, where it happened, stuff like that. And Scott told me it could not be done in that time period of time. So at night, a friend from out of town will help me again. At night, I could feel again that happened during in my tummy area. I could see like implants, what's going on with my body. This is what happened. And you all have to read. I recommend to read Scott's book, and follow the step. You understand what I mean exactly. And your life will change completely.
Thanks, Perry. The book is entertaining if you want to look at it that way, but it's not a book to give you mindless entertainment. It is a series of well-designed, open interdimensional doorway portals. The way it's structured, the way what happens to Mark Sanfield and Janice Carter in recovering who they are, is done to parallel what will happen in your own way for each of you at some point. Because people on Earth are far more ancient than they know. They aren't just 10,000 years old. They're 10 billion. They're more than a couple 100 billion years old. They're older than time and space. And they haven't got a clue this is true. They think they're a brain and a body to look in the mirror and go, that's what I am, and it's getting old, and it's going to die, and they in fear. Because they don't remember there's something running that body on automatic unconsciously. I'll give you an example. When a person puts themselves to sleep at night, it's a very complicated process. In the Atma, which is spherical, which can hover in the head, around the body, or be outside of, or even in another universe, and run this body safely from a distance, is not made of time and space, and it's not limited by the speed of light, or gravity waves, or neutrons, or any kind of radiation of any type. It is energy before that, behind it, that supports it, good or bad, whatever people think. When people go to sleep at night, they're causing the pineal gland, the center of the brain, to secrete serotonin. And then melatonin's made out of it. But there are chemicals that they condition the body to breathe and run the heart and lungs while you're gone. They run it on automatic. There's more than that. There's a little ray of energy, a little golden white light, a little beam of non-nuclear, non-atomic energy that comes from the white core of an Atma, which is round, into the pineal gland, and the being can be anywhere. And the body, while it's sleeping, the brain is off. It's off. If people have REM sleep and their eyes are moving, they say, oh, he's dreaming. No, he's not. The brain doesn't dream. The link to that body from the being is affecting a download of information that it's probably not consciously receiving. And the eyes will move and this and that, but there's nobody home in that body. You have to shock that body awake because there's no consciousness there to talk with you. When your eyes are closed, no light is coming into the eyes from the physical world. That part of the brain is turned off. So how can you imagine anything when you're meditating and your eyes are closed and you're seeing things off in another galaxy? How about when you bring back being on another world as a dream the next morning? The brain didn't experience that. It's not part of REM sleep and in the brain. They got that all wrong on Earth. That's not at all how it works. Imagination is not something, daydreaming as well is not something that can be made up in the human brain. People are unconscious as beings running bodies unconsciously on this planet. They don't remember who they were or what they knew before they were born here, do they? For the most part, most people do not. Maybe bits and pieces of past lives and whatever, but they really don't know what and who they are that is not and has never been a physical body. And until they recover that, they will not make much progress at all. Doesn't matter what religion they're in or who they believe or what they pray to. Until they understand that they are this entity, this being, not made of nuclear energy, they will not make progress. And they'll continue to reincarnate unconsciously in many lives. That's the way this works. Maya, illusion, karma, and reincarnation are aspects of the way physical matter affects physical matter. Action, reaction. It's not the way the Atma actually works, because the real being running a body has never lived in space and time. It can move through an energy field anywhere that is behind matter without being subject to the limits of space and time and the speed of light. This is so simple. People, some scientists, quantum physicists, classified people, understand they can work with toroidal energy, they can make anti-gravitic engines and this and that. They really don't know how to really traverse the cosmos the way they're going about things, because they don't have an understanding of that energy. Just because it was given to them or they found it in a crash craft, they didn't earn it. They didn't develop it and learn how to use it and understand it. They're just stealing it, borrowing it. They're trying to take a shortcut without changing themselves. And that is always a path to destruction. Only. It cannot go anywhere else. Beings need to change to work with that one energy on Earth in order to work with and be accepted into a huge community of spacefaring races that run bodies like us, but they're not trapped by them. They don't believe they're a body. They know what they are. Can you imagine how this world would change if people were trained from childhood about this? Not as a belief, but through experience, growing up. Be a very different planet. This planet's going to require beings come here in great numbers at some point as teachers, not as lording things and a superior attitude over anybody, because they don't have that attitude. Although the people on Earth do, because they're ignorant. Oh, we're God's only chosen people. Oh, we're more better than the people from other planets. Must not be, we're the only ones. That's the thinking of a childish moron. I don't mean to be insulting here to anybody, because I respect people on Earth. They don't know who they are, but I do. So I can't look down on them. I can't criticize them because they're ignorant and they don't remember. They're terrorized of remembering. I know that. So you see, I can't judge them that way and look down on them. I'm just like them. What I do understand is that for us to play with people among the stars, get rid of all disease, clean up the atmosphere, and live normally in normal nature, because Earth nature is not normal. And it needs to be fixed in ways people on Earth don't even comprehend how to do it. They're going to need people from other worlds to come here, and they're going to need to ask them to come here at some point as the vibration raises on this planet. They begin to remember they will have enough courage to step forward into a new arena of existence as beings running bodies. And then these people can come here and help us play. They'll even give us ships so we can go out and play among the stars, teach us. I mean, we'll pilot our own. They're not egotistical maniacs. So I want to get this across to people because it's in our future.
Scott, I would say I follow the step that you recommend or you show me how to do, okay? And every step till the first day I work with you, Scott, until today, I have so many experience, and also I have my Thai channel that I share the experience from you, and we have many hotel meetings as well.
Yeah,
And some of Thai people now they can connect to the ray and they have their own experiences as well. So
right.
I would say your book is not just a book, it's a doorway, a real doorway for you to connect and to recover who you are.
You're right. And let me explain something for people who may tune into this military industrial complex. Some classified people listen to all these anyway. And I want them to. I'm not trying to hide any of this from any of them. I think they're beginning to really understand I'm not a threat. I'm really here to help them out of a trap they've got themselves in they can't get out of on their own. That's a fact. I'm speaking the truth. They're going to need understanding like this in order to correct this planet. They're just going to go up in smoke. Races I deal with from other worlds are not going to let this planet go up in smoke, certainly not nuclear war, because that would harm billions of life in parallel dimensions accessed through interdimensional doorways that are in a geometric grid pattern on this planet, under the oceans, on land, top of volcanoes, or in the atmosphere. They're there. How does a higher dimension support energy to support the energy of a lower dimension? There are natural vortices that connect these two different time rates together. They're like concentric generators, and energy is funneled down to keep the physical galaxy spinning, but they're astral causal. They're all levels to this. There are 144 levels of galaxies, the Milky Way, in just the physical universe. It's just big. If people want to play in all that, even races out among the stars want to play in more of it, they have to work respectfully with the one energy that's behind everything, that supports it. And it does not require that we worship it. It requires that we respect each other and it. That's all. And we can't even do that with our neighbor on Earth, most people. I mean, they can't, government to government religions. It's a mess. People on Earth are not going to get out of this on their own. They may believe that out of just ego, just because a terrible fear is underneath all that ego they're strutting around. But when the fear's gone, the strutting egos do not manifest. Kindness does. Wisdom does. People start knowing how to work with each other. The wisdom is there. It's awakened in them. That's for politicians, kings, queens, I don't care who they are. Classified people, we're all atmas running bodies. They all leave their bodies at night when they go to sleep, but they don't remember what they're doing. They're not taught when they're grown up how to use the higher faculties, turn on the rest of the brain, and bring this stuff back here. So they don't. Doesn't mean they're ignorant, doesn't mean that they can't or that they don't have the ability. As the being that's running a body, it has that capability. Even if people don't know it, don't believe it, they do. People flout this, I'm a soul, I'm an eternal being, a son or daughter of God, but they don't understand it. It's just faith for them. It's not real. You know, there's fear behind that. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe when they die, maybe this will happen. Maybe that'll happen. What we are cannot be destroyed by a hydrogen bomb. If one went off under me right now, I'd still be sitting here as the being I am. The body would be gone, but I would not. And I know this. It isn't faith. It's not belief. There's no fear behind it. I understand it. I know it. And I'm sharing that with other people. I'm channeling or not like a psychic. I'm putting out energy that's moving through me that is not positive and negative, good and bad, right and wrong. It doesn't flip from one pole to the other. It's not emotionally unstable. It is beyond that, and it is the energy of creation itself. I work with, for lack of better terms, for people on Earth, the 0-point energy. It is a living, omnipresent power. And we, as spherical beings, are comprised of this one power, but from a much higher level. Way many dimensions above here, where we originate, before we started playing with running bodies, developing DNA, developing bodies to come up to where, you got a human being, and if it's working right and the genomes are turned on, that he's 100% of the brain, and the darn thing can fly spaceships across the universe, or get out of their body as a being, go see where they're going to land, then take the spaceship there and land it. More advanced beings do this. That's what remote viewing was all about. During the old Cold War with the former Soviet Union, they were trying to spy on each other by getting out of their bodies and have people that could do it to see what everybody's doing. They kind of stopped doing that because they realized they were both doing it, and it kind of didn't go anywhere. And that's more in the use of energies in the lower dimensions, positive and negative, and it can backfire on people playing with those energies. But if you work as Atma to Atma, it's telepathic. There's no up and down. There's no negative emotion or imagination involved in that. When I connect with the one energy in the universe through the first half of the word human, which is a connective technique, it opens a door through the pineal gland. What I mean is I'm already there as a being, but I can channel more energy of what I'm doing through the pineal gland into the brain and re-educate, retrain that body and brain that never learned any of this growing up. Other planets, other races didn't learn any of that. And get that into conditioning that form to be more enlightened, to accept, understanding what the Atma that's running that body knows. So I have to be humble to my own cause as an Atma. I have to be humble to my own higher nature. Respectful. Because it's me that's part of this supreme being, made of the same energy that has to work with enlightening anything. And the Atma itself has to first recover what's been suppressed in it, what has been made to forget without its free will or consent in a past they don't recall. It needs to recover that first. And then straightening out genomes and DNA and disease and all that's easy. Very easy. And then beings who already know how to master this come work with us happily at no charge, no money. Because they don't work with it. What did I just do? I know what I just did and why and where it connects to and what it does. Part of my, I don't want to say mission, it could be misconstrued. Part of my purpose for being on this earth, and I'm on other planes and other dimensions that I move between all the time. Part of my purpose for working with vast organization of world systems in our galaxy and others is to assist people on Earth to recover who they are. It's not about spaceship rides. You can get used to that like riding a bus or a car. And that just gets you around the physical universe. It won't even take you into the astral plane, spaceship rides. You have to go into the astral plane as the Atma and run spaceships in that matter to play there. And I do that too. So what? Does that make me a free being doing that? No. Does it make me more evolved and understand higher technology, even more spirituality than people on Earth? Yes. But that's not the end of the road. We as beings on any world system, anywhere in creation, are literally in creation to be co-creators at some point with the source behind and supporting all life. This omnipresent you goes all the way up through the planes to a source, a prime creator. And we are like a pure teardrop, an individual in a huge ocean, like a galaxy spinning in a blue atmosphere from that source. And that source is not in time and space. There's no cause and effect there. There's no planets, no moons, no suns, no stars. Whole constructs of things exist there floating in a spiritual energy, I don't want to use that word either, in a living conscious energy. And we're comprised of a higher level of that same energy, so we have a natural communication, telepathic link to it. When a person on Earth begins to recover this knowing, everything changes for them. And once it begins, it cannot be reversed. There is a protection that goes with working with the hue. The hue is not native to this planet. No language on this planet is native to this planet. No human body in any race is native to this planet. No human being ever evolved on this earth in the first place. They evolved long ago out in the galaxies and were brought here. In a history that goes back 65 million years to when the dinosaurs were made extinct. You ask anybody on Earth, do you know what that history is? Do you know what Galactic Alliance history is? Do you know what the galaxy's history is? Do you know what your history is? All the way up from the source. We exist as beings in the source energy. We never left. The rest is running bodies in different dimensions to gain experience for one purpose, to one day become a co-creator with that source and be trusted with it. That's very simple. The failed experiment of evil, good and evil, as everybody knows on Earth, it's just pretty nasty out there. And there's good out there too. There's kindness and there's love, but there's both sides. And the negative predominates in the atmosphere of planet Earth right now. There's more of that, fear and other things. But behind that is an energy that supports beings creating good or bad things with their imagination. So beings are trapping themselves on this earth without realizing they're doing it. When a being begins to realize they can stop using their imagination, which is not made up in the brain, it goes out from their body and affects matter. Imagination and thought can be measured on an oscilloscope. Brain waves. They extend out away from the body. They go out in microvoltages and affect time, space. It's set up so that whatever you put out comes back like a mirror. If people are unconscious, don't remember who they are, and they're trying to do things right, they're going to make so many mistakes with putting out fear of the present and the future, they're going to create a trap for themselves. And Earth is one big trap for the Atma, unless it knows what and who it is. The responsibility of a being who knows what and who it is to help others recover that. It's as natural as the sun, the stars, galaxies and planets and interdimensional realities. The more advanced races understand this.
Scott, I have a question from Chef Max. Said, how do we stay positive when we hear so many negative comments daily? It's like we are poisoned daily. Before you answer, can I answer from my experience first?
Go ahead. Yeah, just
I recommend you watch our shows, and you can always go back to listen to the show in the past too, and read his book and Send Out the Heal. The more you understand, the more you can control your fear, and the more you will be in positive ways of thinking of positive life, And now you can answer. Thank you.
Yeah, great. And that's from your experience, and it's valid experience. It's real.
Yes.
Think of it this way, to answer his question, right?
Yeah.
If you listen to such things, who's at fault? The people putting it out or the person listening to it? If you watch such things and you're, compulsively drawn to look into the negative, you will find it everywhere on earth. If you change, if you detach yourself from the things going on around you, which are in fact being put out by other people in fear, I don't care if they're politicians or the heads of religions, then you're caught up in the same drama. And you are simply misusing free will and your imagination to connect to such things. And then you're brought right down with it. Which means the Atma, in its ignorance, not knowing, will imagine looking into and connecting to all the stuff that's thrown at us. And so it gets trapped in it. And the principle is, as long as anything's negative in nature, none of the higher faculties of being will work. Because the higher faculties of being do not work with the positive and the negative, the good and bad emotion, or thought. They work with the one energy that's out in the void of space that supports everything. I hope people can get this. Because when you start to connect to that, it begins to connect to you consciously, and you begin to recover awareness and discover again how to creatively work with this one power, with your imagination. And then everything can change for that person. So if they read the Say Raise agenda, they're going to discover how this happened for Mark Sanfield and Janice Carter, how they changed unexpectedly. They didn't even remember anything before until they made contact with beings, humans from other worlds, who helped them do that. Because they were an integral part of saving this planet from annihilating itself. They didn't know it. The rest of you on Earth don't know it. But the fact is, everybody on Earth is an intricate and intimate part of helping to transform this planet. They just don't know it yet. My work is to help them recover that. And that is for every living being on this planet. I don't think I'm above anybody else. I don't ask people to worship at my feet or treat me like their guru. I would dismiss that or push that away anyway. I'm endeavoring to get people to respect each other, respect me, respect the source behind all life through experience, through their own awakening direct experience. So this little guy here, which took 5 publications to get all the typos out, and it had to evolve to get these special techniques section in the back added to at the end of the book, and it looks like this. It says, the Say Raise Agenda, special techniques to safely explore and awaken deliberately hidden truth by R. Scott Lemuria. Preliminary technique section. There is a technique involving working with the hue, which I'm going to do when we go on a journey here in a moment, that forms and provides its own kind of protection. For someone even living on Earth, it sets up a field of energy that starts to move through you that you just don't get caught up in the negative, and you begin to discover how to drop it. Drop putting your power that you channel from the source into it to connect with it. You withdraw that energy, and you begin to create your imagination voluntarily in the correct way. To deliberately put out your imagination in a way that will only be of uplifting benefit to all life, not just life on Earth, all life in the entire grand multidimensional creation. We are required to do this to become free. You cannot get around this. No one can. So there are beings who can help us do that quicker, more efficiently than we can on our own on Earth. Think of it this way. Out in galactic history on some other planets about to annihilate itself, just like people on Earth are, suddenly extraterrestrial contact is made. Governments somehow go through a change to disclose it. And the assistance is brought to the planet and they're saved. They're not controlled. Those beings don't want to run governments here, take over the planet or its resources. They've got lots of resources out in billions of planets out there. They don't have to do that. But it would be really nice in their way of viewing things to recover the beings who are unconscious on Earth, to see how they can co-creatively contribute wondrous new ways to doing things with them one day. They're like sleeping gods clothed in rags of unconsciousness. Recover that? The potential is yet unknown. So they're very interested in that.
Scott, you mentioned about disclosure, and this person, Philip Douglas, he said, because after reading your book, have the out-of-town friends set a time for disclosure, or is this dependent on Say Raise agenda?
It's dependent on the Say Raise agenda, but it's all dependent on every one of you. You just don't know it yet. It doesn't make it untrue, what I just said. It means that you have a part to play in the transformation of this planet, whether you know it now or not, because you come from the source too, whether you know it or not yet. Any faith someone believes in, if it's really good and alive, should lead to direct experience about what they believe in. I mean, going beyond the lower dimensions where all the heavens of the world's religions on earth are located. Because there's an illusion running through that of positive and negative. They want to get above the void, which is above the etheric reality, 5 planes up, major divisions, and past that into the upper realities from whence they originally came. Because when you do that, you begin to recover who you are on all the dimensions. And you can become a co-creator with that source. There are beings, people on Earth don't know this, a lot of people in the galaxy are just becoming aware of it. Some of the older races knew it and have known it for billions of years, but there is an order of beings called silent mentors, I call them, because they mentor things at certain, at least they do now. They were called silent ones before, but they're called silent mentors now because they're beginning to get involved in interrelating with beings like us, atmas or souls, when before they had no part in that. They are beings who run the mechanics of creation. They keep 144 parallel dimensions in place, galaxies spinning on their axis, moons going around planets. They keep all that in place, get new stars going. They make planets to revolve around other suns. It doesn't just happen by accident naturally. Matter doesn't just form spheres that go around suns and humans just pop out of the ground like you plant a seed and it just grows a human. There's more involved in that. They aren't human beings. They don't have human bodies. They're not made of DNA. And their job is to run the mechanics of creation on all the dimensional levels. And that's what they do. One of the things they recently did was cease permanently the flipping of Earth's poles. Even though it's classified, Earth's poles would flip every 100,000 years. Physically, destroy the land, raise new continents up from the seafloor. 24 hours. Then you'd have an ice age. It's a violent affair. And as far as I know, Earth is the only planet that does this or ever has done this. So colonizations of Earth from other worlds could only last 100,000 years. And there were both good and bad ETs in different places of the planet that had colonies or mining colonies or whatever under off-world treaty that was established after the last Great War, 500,000 years ago, in our galaxy ended. Earth has been really in a hard place because it doesn't work like no other worlds. And you can't have civilizations developing there for many millions of years uninterrupted. So that's one of the first things that had to be done. That's done. Not by people on Earth. That wasn't even done by the most advanced spacefaring races. It was done by beings beyond that. And this was done because the consciousness of those beings, the Say-Rays from the Say-Rays Agenda book, which are humans and were humans, very tall, 18 to 25 feet. We get our genomes and our DNA from them originally. They were advanced scientists. They would develop DNA body forms like human and humanoid and other races, and the brains and everything, so that under the right circumstances, the atmas that start running them can run higher faculties of creation through them. If that's inhibited, or genomes are shut down, or the brain's not working on all thrusters like people on Earth are, then those higher faculties don't work through those bodies very well at all. So that has to be corrected. It's not the body or the brain that makes all these wonders happen anyway. It's the Atma creating through it. More evolved beings that haven't been imprisoned or trapped like people on Earth have at one time in their past, before this lifetime, understand how to create with that one energy. So their societies and their science are extremely more evolved than people on Earth. But you got to remember this, we are from the stars. People on Earth are all extraterrestrials. because the human bodies in every race known on Earth never evolved here in the first place. They're all extraterrestrials. What a joke it is. Is there life on other planets? Are there extra? Well, you're an extraterrestrial right now. You just don't know it. You're on a spaceship Earth going at what, 55,000 miles an hour, whatever it is, around the sun in a void that people used to think was just vacant, a vacuum. It's not. It's packed full of living energy. But human eyes can't see it. So you have to rise out of your body or go above it or use technology to see what it looks like beyond human eyes. And then the universe looks very colorful and very beautiful. But for human beings looking at it in time-lapse photographies, like the Hubble telescope or satellites or the shuttle or astronauts taking photographs, whatever they used, they're looking at the universe through technology to see what it looks like beyond the range of human vision. Ultraviolet, infrared, X-ray, gamma rays, all these different rays. There are different rates of light speed. The speed of light is not limited to 286,000 miles a second. That's just the limit that human eyes can detect. The biggest mistake people make is thinking that that is the limit in space. The speed of light they can see. It isn't. That's backward ass thinking, if ever there was any. Get outside the body and start looking at it as the Atma, and you can see all these frequencies at any speed, and there's no limits to the speed of light. The Atma, even in the physical universe, people have developed technology to take certain kinds of craft from here to other galaxies. Those are races in the Milky Way and Andromeda and others. Lesser spacefaring races can take ships to stars within the galaxy. It takes a conscious component of the Atma working with the one energy to traverse the vast space between two galaxies. It doesn't work any other way. If somebody borrows some technology somebody else made to do that, they still haven't earned it. They still don't know what they're doing with it. They're just using something other people learned how to work with that one energy. See? Change and evolution of beings happens when beings like people on Earth begin to understand how to use that energy, because it will allow you to use it or work with it if you play ball with it correctly. Otherwise, it won't. And that's because it's a teacher, let's call it that. It's a kind of a thing that's ultimately designed to help us become conscious co-creators, imagining new ways of doing things in eternity with it. That is the actual destiny of what people call a human being. I'm not talking about the brain or body of one lifetime, the human being. Human, woman, get it? This was set up before the worlds of time and space were ever created. Every Atma running a body was there. Some of them are very perverted, very terrified, and they become tyrants. They want to squash others before it's done to them. That's their misdirected thinking. All tyrants think this way. There are people running governments on Earth that think this way. And all it's doing is trapping them and their families. They get disease, they grow old, and they die because they're working with negative energy. They will not discover how to immortalize a body or how to change the DNA or fix the genomes or the telomeres on the end of the DNA strand, or how to make a body live 1,000 years or get rid of these. Never going to discover that. Working with fear of the unknown. Working with fear of the present or future defeats the very thing they're trying to do, because that energy will not reveal its secrets through negative emotions and imagination ever. Tyrants who travel the stars have stolen it from other races that invented it. They can't develop it on their own. Negative natures cannot develop new technologies. The technologies people in classified areas are working with, dealing with anti-gravitic propulsion and artificial gravity and portals between dimensions and all that was basically stolen or borrowed or recovered from races that developed it and work with it and know what they're doing. People on Earth do not. And there is a limit to how far they can go with that, not knowing what they're doing, because they will be destructive with it in any other way. And there are safeguards on this. There are beings out there, like the silent mentors, that control this. The doorways between dimensions are monitored, even by beings beyond spacefaring races. Now, if you want to play in the universe, you got to play ball. Okay. Really, it's common sense. So I address this to people who might find this video, addressing them respectfully as a fellow Atma who has the potential to recover this knowing, or I wouldn't be sharing it with them. I'm not looking down on anybody or criticizing anybody, or they couldn't possibly know how to get out of the trap they're in on their own. And they should never feel alone, because beings have come to this world and talked with government leaders in the past several times to offer them this way out, and they were turned down by fear. That's all. It wasn't forced on them. I can tell you one thing that was done since World War II ended is the prevention of nuclear war, and that was not prevented by the leaders on this planet, classified or otherwise. It was prevented from beings elsewhere. We do not have the right to blow ourselves up or make the planet radioactive, because that will negatively affect billions of other sentient beings, animals and plants in other parallel dimensions through which are accessed through portals on this planet. We do not now, nor will we ever have the right to do that. They don't want to run our governments, but we are not going to be allowed to do that. Fortunately for us, or we'd all be dead from nuclear war already. That's a living fact. We would be. So you see, I don't operate in fear of the present and the future at all. And I'm doing what other people like all of you are capable of doing under the right conditions. That's the reason I'm doing it, to assist other people to recover this. Let's go on a little journey, unless you have another question, Perry.
I don't have a question, but I would like to tell everybody, when you all watch our show, please start from the beginning. Like when we have meals, you start from appetizer and then the main dish, because every
slow down. I can't understand your words. Talk
okay.
slower, because if I can
should start watching from the beginning, because some people will skip at the beginning, and and just to go on the journey.
Because there's a lot that is telepathically done. What I'm doing now, you see my lips moving, but my body is in the trance state we call sleep right now. I've learned and been trained how to work the eyes and make it, but it's really, I'm in a state of serenity of being. That's not it's just normal for an Atma that's awake to be in this state. It's an equilibrium that isn't an extreme. It doesn't have highs and lows. It doesn't react negatively, emotionally, or mentally. And we're all capable of this.
People might not understand, but what you're saying, okay, just keep on. I'm sorry.
Okay. When a person first crosses the path with the hue, what they don't know is that they're co-creating a way out of a trap they're in. What was done to them was so diabolical before this life that they are terrorized to remember it. And when they try, their nervous system reacts in a negative way, and they get subconsciously terrorized and turn away from finding the truth. That's how those subconscious implants were created, to do that. When a person starts to say, damn it, I've been through all this stuff, I've been on the internet, I've been all over the world trying to recover, and 20 years later, I'm still in doubt and don't know what I'm doing. A person sometimes will make a leap, I don't want to say of faith, a leap of courage, and take a chance to find or contact beings who are not part of the trap on Earth. And they are, and what I'm saying to people and applauding them is they're having the courage to do this, or they would never have found me. All I did was put out YouTube videos and things about this work in conferences held around the world doesn't even know took place. So people can find this at some point on the internet or at my websites. Paralleltime.com is my primary website, paralleltime.com, just like the two words are spelled together with no space. Videos of conferences I conducted, presentations to quantum physicists and scientists and other beings. Hopi Indian elders were there. You can find and watch what I do with people that never saw me before and how I do it. Something was started in that presentation in Finland and previously in Norway that didn't exist on this planet before. Those were grounding conferences for something new. It wasn't done to make money. The sponsor in Finland probably spent 50 or 60,000 US dollars to bring us there. I helped set it up. I brought a video guy there to record all these prisoners and then produced those videos and gave them to those people at no charge. Nobody knew who I was or what I was doing because I came out of what they think out of nowhere. That's not true. It took an entire lifetime to recover who I am, enough to step out courageously and go and do what I do for the benefit of others.
Scott, your video in Finland are very, very good. I recommend people to go under this video. There is the link to go to Scott's website, and then can check on this video that you mentioned.
The website has a function at the top where you can change the website into any language on earth.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to see me wearing this very shirt. There's a reason why I wore it. You're going to see me wearing this shirt looking older than I do now, years ago in Finland. But that's okay. There are many other videos, some short ones about 1 minute and 20 seconds. You can play at the website with the wonderful Jessica narrating. She's a professional voiceover artist. And they're very powerful. They're very heart-moving. It's orchestrated music, very beautiful behind them. We're working on finishing up repairing 26 so they can be presented and promoted that were previously created. And I had to go to another company to get them refined a little more. It's all process. So everybody helped. Everybody's, and it wasn't cheap, I can tell you that. And no, I didn't make any profit on them. And when these videos are displayed out in the world, I don't charge for them. There's no money involved at all. I sell the books because if I didn't, these could never be printed on demand and shipped to people around the world when they order it through Amazon or Barnes & Noble in the US or iTunes or iBooks or Ingram Spark, which distributes books to bookstores around the world. They don't do the internet stuff. Amazon does that. They both have print-on-demand facilities around the planet. So when someone orders it, it's printed like this in that country and shipped locally. The cost of sending a 1-pound book to Germany from the US is like $60. You can't do it. So it has to be done this way. This book is The Emerald Doorway. It begins with extraterrestrial humans from another world and a galactic alliance ships in an adventure that began over 100,000 years ago, that involved our solar system, the destruction of a planet between Mars and Jupiter that is now an asteroid belt, Lemuria, and a colony continent of Atlantis that was 2/3 its size, not the one talked about that was destroyed 35,000 years ago, a volcanic island. No, this was further back. And the Oceanians, who had a domed city at the bottom of the ocean, that were influenced these surface dwellers to evolve, that very evolved beings, that surface dwellers didn't even know they were there. And they were extraterrestrial. The beings on the surface who didn't remember that even then were extraterrestrial. Remember, humans didn't evolve on Earth. So it really is more about the Hue too, but it's more about what happened in galactic history that led to the present time on this planet. This book, real actors were hired to portray these characters in costume So that these original artwork for these books, not only are they copywritten, they weren't derived from the internet. These are original artwork for this purpose. This is an actor playing the part of Mark Sandfield. On the back cover, you see a forested area in the High Sierra Mountains of California, Northern California. And here's 3 assailants in black suits trying to kill him with beam weapons, blowing out a chunk of a tree. He's got his little yellow tent behind is that his right foot back there?
Mm-hmm.
And he's being beamed aboard this craft, one of these, piloted by a human from another world. This saves his life. Purposefully, because he's important in the equation of how Earth is going to be transformed. So he's woken up from an amnesia he was forced on him, terrorized. His cousin, who's a prime scientist on Earth, is woken up in the same way. So that's the difference between the 2 books. They're connected. They're very different. And they're very different apart in time-space, 100,000 years. One is past, that involves the same people being alive and coming to present time on Earth through a device. And the other one is present, dealing with races out there and what they're doing now. So there are 2 sequels written to this. Guardians of the Ancient One is the next one, and Journey to the Center of the Universe is the third one. It's not to the center of the physical universe, I can tell you that. So one is out. There are 30 illustrations in here, very highly defined. There's a picture of a master teacher named Ramu hovering over a general's bedroom in Washington, D.C. He's carrying a device. They have to do with saving the planet from destruction. There is a creature here called a Dren. His name is Etta. And he is about 3 feet long from the root of his tail to the tip of his nose. And he is a silica-based creature on a mostly water-covered world that evolved in huge, vacant volcanic chambers, the natural ecosystems at the bottom of their ocean-covered world. And he looks like this little guy here. Dexterous hands and toes and feet and thumbs like a person, pale green skin, big bulbous blue eyes, and he developed the ability to levitate and fly through the air through a natural anti-gravitic capability from an organic creature. He's not from Earth, and he's also a master teacher. So you get introduced to these things, and then through the hue, you begin to have experience with these things. You begin to remember. It takes time, but that time is speeding up also. Okay. When I send out the hue before we begin a journey, I do this in increasing tone pitches because I'm addressing not only the physical self you have to go to sleep, just like you put it to sleep every night, no difference, except in listening to my voice as a kind of guide temporarily. You're going to stay consciously focused on what I'm sharing with you through the imagination so you can see what's taking place when we get outside the atmosphere of Earth, above the negativity that's on the planet, out into the universe, into the void of space, which is a pure kind of energy that you cannot record or impress negative things in it. That's impossible.
Scott, during this journey, I will turn off my video, okay?
I would ask people to give me about 2-3 minutes. In fact, I'm going to pause the video, and then I'll unpause it when I come right back. So since this is pre-recorded and will go up on your YouTube channel, we can do this. So with your permission, I'll pause it right now.
Okay.
And I'll be right back. Now we're back.
Yes.
We're still recording. Nice technique. You can pause and just start where you left off. Okay. This part of it is to go on a journey. It is a way to introduce to people that have forgotten how to consciously move beyond their physical form, out into the universe to gain wisdom and experience, to recover the awareness of who they are as an Atma, not a body or a brain. And the only way to do this is through personal demonstration. which is part of direct experience. And gradually people begin to recover confidence with this ability and how the imagination really works. It's already in them, it's just sleeping, it's dormant. So we want to get that awake. Okay. When I send out the hue, first half of the word human, it is the sound which mimics, probably not the right word. It's actually connects to, through the pineal gland, through a certain element in the pineal gland to the one energy behind creation and connects to it in a communication link. It is a kind of energy that is not physical or atomic in nature, and it cannot be broken or affected by or influenced by, controlled by, or manipulated by negative beings or technology at all. When this process begins, it is for the benefit, uplifting benefit of all life. That includes all life. When I first send it out, it's to assist you to put your body in a trance state called sleep, which means the pineal gland secreting serotonin, making melatonin. Your body's going to go, it's going to be basically running, lungs working, heart pumping, blood circulating, but the brain is turned off. You know, you can hear a truck go by for protective purposes, or you might hear something outside, and your ears can hear things. But when you're with me on this journey, I'm going to be describing general things we're seeing. You're going to be seeing, each of you will see that and other things I don't describe. Don't be surprised by that, because it's your experience. When you're out as a spherical being, you can see in 360 degrees, wherever you place your attention. Then I'm also putting out a hue for the astral body. That's the next major division up above 144 parallel dimensions of the physical universe. Then it starts again. Another 140, made of a finer molecular time rate of matter. Emotion in that plane moves matter around. It's more efficient, it's quicker, lives are longer, and each atma is running a body there. You go into the causal plane, the next major division up, there's another 144. And matter is of a finer nature. You go into the mental plane, that's finer. And then the upper border of that is the etheric, and that's really rarefied, mostly positive with a little bit of negative energy moving through it. And then there's this big void, pale blue light that looks like there's nothing in it. And some esoteric groups on earth have concluded that's the God or the end. There's nothing beyond that. That is, of course, not true at all. If you have the light and the wisdom, you can travel across that void into the upper realities. And there the energy is pure positive. There's no time and space there. It's the natural habitat of all living things. I don't mean living bodies. I mean all living beings that run bodies. And so I'll be using these, working with these tones to help you get all the forms you're running, whether you're aware of them or not, on other planes at the same moment, asleep, sitting on a beach somewhere, laying on a couch, being in a palace somewhere, whatever you are. And then the Atma, which is spherical, can withdraw from those forms and go on this journey to experience things in a much more expanded capability, expanded state of awareness and capability. It's part of the recovery process. So I'll begin those tones now. With your eyes closed, some of you may be able to open your eyes and see things and still see what I'm sharing with you. This just means the Atma, the real you, the spherical you, is looking at this in eternity, in the multiverse somewhere. And you happen to see what's outside. I can do this, but I would recommend you close your eyes to keep the visual light from the earth coming into them. That part of the brain is off. Therefore, as you're seeing what I'm describing, the real you is seeing it, not the physical brain, not the eyes. As a spherical being, round, with a radiant white core and layers of the covering the entire spectrum of light, goes from a white core to a layer of teardrop-shaped, self-effulgent, self-luminous lights and layer that are higher faculties that is yellow. Then it goes to orange, to red, to blue, to green. I think it's to lavender and to violet. And then there's a white golden light surrounding that that is emanated from the core of your being as an individual Atma or soul. The energy and the structure of the Atma or soul has definite form, definite shape, definite purpose on a spherical, multidimensional scale. Each level of each one of you in this way has recorded in it lives you've lived on each of a number of different dimensions. This is probably news to people on Earth because they don't even know what the Atma looks like or soul and how it's constructed. They've been made to forget this. That part of you, which is the real you, is now hovering near the ceiling. Simply use daydreaming. Just daydream it. Just imagine it. Just like you would be sitting in a classroom looking out the window. You see the parking lot. You see the teacher. And you're thinking about the skiing. You're at the beach or you're on a camping trip, even on another planet in your imagination. This is the real you seeing it somewhere else, but you're not aware of it. Generally, people on Earth are not trained that this is what's happening, so they really don't utilize it. You are up near the ceiling, looking down on your body, sitting in a chair or laying down, however makes you comfortable. Now, this is the same thing you do with that body every night. The brain and the body do not put itself to sleep automatically. Unconsciously, each one of you does that to the brain and body in order to leave the body and brain on automatic for a time while you're out in another dimension or reality. What you bring back to that body in the morning when you wake it up has everything to do with how you feel and imagine things before you go to sleep at night. It's incredibly important that each one of you endeavor not to feel or think or imagine anything negative about the present or the future before you put that body to sleep, or you will simply go out in the universe and mix up things, positive and negative, and bring back scrambled eggs. Nightmares happen from that. If you want direct awakening experience out of body, beyond the earth, and with other beings out in the universe who can do this easily, then you work with the hue. You read the Series Agenda book, you work with the techniques in the back, and you discover how to uplift yourself and have all pain in the body and everything shut down before you leave it at night. And those techniques will help you see and meet with beings and events on other worlds and other realities in a safely protected manner. If any of you think you won't get out of your bodies because some subconscious program terrorized you into believing that if you do, a demon will get you or some negative being, understand this simple fact. You have already been caught. You're on Earth with little to no memory of what you were or what you knew before being born on this planet. Going, why am I here? How did I get here? Why do I exist? So don't consider that leaving your body is a trap. You're already stuck on Earth with no memory. That's the trap. The beings that you will meet in the hue cannot have any negative nature whatsoever. It's the first thing you will learn on your own through this process. The beings I work with do not have negative natures or subconscious minds at all. They work with this omnipresent living energy that supports the entire multidimensional creation. We call it the hue, or the first sound behind creation, that was there in the higher realities before the lower worlds of time and space were built. Look down on your body kindly. Just imagine it there. And then look out from above your body, out through your walls of your house, out into your environment, into your city. Look at the nature around you, you know is there. And then be at 10,000 feet in the atmosphere of the planet Earth, looking down on your city, whatever country you are in. This works for anybody on Earth if they take the time to do it. Doesn't matter whether they're political, religious in any way, whether they are classified or not, in the military or not, whether they're royalty or not, it won't matter. This, each one of you must find out for yourself. That is the purpose of my work on this planet. To be of assistance with many others to help you to do that. Look around you at 10,000 feet. It doesn't matter if it's day or night, wherever you are. You'll see everything lit up because you, as a spherical being, are a luminous source of light and sound. There's an energy you move and have your being in that is omnipresent. It exists behind the oxygen in the atmosphere. It exists in the void of space. It exists between planets, moons, suns, stars, galaxies, and dimensions. And we as beings have the telepathic ability to connect and communicate directly into it, to actually co-create with the imagination into it. This one living force is unbiased, unprejudiced, and it will create, or it is the one power that will bring into creation whatever we imagine in it, good or bad. So you can see that it's important that we do not send out negative imagination in any way. Be in space above the planet. That's right. You have all seen images of space and Earth from a distance and the moon from the Hubble Space Telescope or the shuttle or satellite images of deep space and other galaxies, which you can find readily available on the internet. You're in space now further above the planet than the space shuttle ever flew. And you are a spherical light source of energy, and there are many others in a circle, all of us on this journey, around a center, like spheres around a wheel, a hub. And when you look down, you can see the polar ice caps of Earth, the oceans, and the land masses, and you can see the barren moon moving around the planet, not turning on its axis. Pockmarked with meteor craters, no oxygen atmosphere there, no rain clouds, and the sun off in the distance. Except when you look at space here as the Atma, everything in this so-called void between the Earth, the moon, and the sun and the stars is a white golden light filling the so-called void of space. And you can see it. You can hear it. It has a sound like deep rolling thunder. Not frightening, just deep humming rumble. And it has a light that is golden white in nature. When you look in the center of the core of the beings that are here with us as spheres of light like you, that same light exists in the core of our being, and we are connected to it always. When you look at the billions of stars of the Milky Way galaxy around us, they're beautiful, and you can see them clear as day, even though behind and between them is this golden white light. 0 point toroidal energy, the energy of the universe itself. No one in their misdirected thinking has the right to keep this awareness away from any fellow human being. If they do, and they continue it, it will only be destructive or negative for those who do it. Individual beings don't have the right to capitalize on this, attempt to control it, which they try, or to dominate it as an exclusive set of people over all others. This is wrong. No good can ultimately come from that. In space, you don't feel heat or cold. You don't feel radiation from the sun. You're perfectly serene. In front of you appears a body that looks just like you, whatever age you are. This one appears to be about 36. Flawlessly built, perfectly healthy, man or woman. And it is a projection of energy that looks like you, made of the pure energy of the core of your being, so that we can recognize each other here, above the negative, compacted atmosphere of Earth, in space, where there is no negative or positive nature. This energy between all things is not nuclear or atomic in nature. It is energy, but not as yet understood by the people of Earth. It is a living energy, just like us. In the center of this circle around which we are hovering is a friend of mine named Ambassador Torellian. He's showing you a body 18 feet tall, much taller than any of us. Human, slightly pointed ears, slightly curvy or slightly wavy, long blonde hair, slightly bigger eyes than a human, beautifully blue, kind of in a Greek godlike gown, standing there with his two thumbs up, pointed outward, with a golden white light around them. He's maintaining an energy space here that has no negative nature. He's basically maintaining an energy for us to experience it until we can recover awareness of it on our own. The Say rays were a human race that evolved billions of years ago out in the galaxies and that helped to bring into reality body forms with DNA like human, humanoid, and other races, bipedal, and others that fly and now play among the stars. They developed these body forms so that the Atma or soul could run higher faculties through them and gain experience in the physical universes of time and space. And the purpose for that experience is to become one day a conscious co-creator with the source behind all life. It is that source, far above the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth, that does not require us to worship it or beg it for favors. And if we don't do what's right, we're sent to some hell. No. All of that kind of thinking came from tyrant kings controlling priests in the 10,000-year history of Earth and has nothing to do with the real source at all. The real source and what it is can be directly experienced by each individual under the right conditions. It isn't the brain and body that can experience this. It is you beyond that body as the spherical being that can and comprehend it with knowing certainty. No doubt, no fear, no speculation, no debate. None of those negative things are involved here at all. Turellian, if you look behind him, there's a spherical Atma, a little brighter than us, looks just like us, hovering there. That's the real him. The body form that's standing in space is made of pure energy. It looks like the body he once had. A billion years ago in galactic history, the Say rays did a certain kind of immortalization of their physical form. They had become pure energy. They already were, just like each of us are. However, they are able to dematerialize of will their physical bodies and store it in a golden grid pattern over which the DNA was layered, and then stored in one of the teardrops in the yellow layer that surrounds the white core of their being. When they want to manifest a body now, they will draw energy from the surrounding 0 point or universe energy. It fills that grid pattern, manifests a body molecule by molecule on the spot. That's actually a body that could be solid, and he could appear on Earth and shake your hand, although your hand would be tiny. They do this to carry out missions. When they're done, they simply dematerialize it and store it. They don't have the burden of running a body, physical body, around 24/7 like we do. The human forms we have derive our DNA directly from them. And this was created as human beings several billions of years ago out in the galaxies, which means up here in space where you have a more expanded awareness. Human beings never evolved on Earth in the first place. You'll never find a missing link on Earth between Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal. Those are humanoid extinct species not connected to human beings, actually. And they were brought to Earth just like all of us were at one time. The missing link will not be found on planet Earth. It's out in the galaxies long, long ago, far out in the galaxies. Human beings are a very old race. Under normal conditions, the Atma would be able to run its higher faculties through a body form and brain that does not have shut down genomes on some of its DNA strands. Human beings on Earth do. And that is a problem. Turellian and his race did this universally, their whole race, over 1 billion years ago. He's simply demonstrating a form just like we have, which means right now you're imagining having a body standing there in front of you, out in space above the negative influences of Earth, where there aren't any. And this is so we can identify and see each other and recognize Perry, and I'm there. I'm standing to the right of Terrellian, hovering in front of a body that looks to be about 36, just like I do on this video recording of this journey. When you look at the polar ice caps of Earth, you're going to see an energy shift upward in the white golden light that surrounds it. It brightens a bit, and the Earth suddenly becomes a planet with no polar ice caps. And the moon, the full oxygen atmosphere, with rain clouds and little mountains and rivers and domed cities on it, 5 on one side, and as it turns on its axis, you see 2 more in a mountainous area. This moon turns on its axis and has people living on it as it moves around the planet Earth. This is in what is called the third higher parallel dimension of the physical universe, where an Earth is and exists at a slightly higher time rate. This is not the astral plane or a major upper division. This is still in the physical universe. And there's the sun off in the distance. There is one continent centered over the equator on this planet. It goes from the left to the right hemisphere, moves up towards the North Pole about a third away below it, then curves down towards the Western Hemisphere, or the Eastern Hemisphere rather, then curves down towards the South Pole about a third of the way above it, then back up towards the Western Hemisphere. There is a continent 2/3 its size on the other side, centered over the equator. That is Lemuria. This is a Lemuria and a planet whose poles never changed, like they did on the Earth you're familiar with, every 100,000 years until recently when they were stopped. Just a few years ago, Earth time. Down at the bottom near the southern pole, you can see a crescent-shaped, half-moon-shaped, glowing emerald beach, even from space. And I like to take people here as part of the journey because that Earth has no pollutants in the water, the air, the ground, and it has few people living on it. Some from the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, which is an organization headquartered on a planet called Zentranomy 1, near the galactic core of this galaxy, not in the center of it, near it. And beings that are called master teachers who often travel on their spacecraft, their larger ones, to help keep people in balance, remembering and knowing they aren't a physical body, they are an Atma. And beings who, like the Sayrays, a few of them come here, Terrellian does, I do. And when you look at that green glowing beach, you suddenly find yourself looking down at that physical body you're running made of energy, and you can see your toes wiggling in glowing emerald green sand. And all of us on this journey are standing around this curved, mile-long curved beach. And the ocean is blue, green, and luminous, and there's Terrellian standing up to his knees out in the ocean, holding his 2 thumbs up with this golden spherical light around, golden light. When you turn inland, you can see a jungle. Unusual jungle trees like palms, but luminous. They give off a certain kind of luminous glow. And in the distance, you can see the back of this curve. You can see and you can smell the air. It's pure. There's no pollutants here. There's a brown moss-covered path that goes back about a mile. And there's a circular white marble floor in a clearing. And that path continues up the mountainside, a single snow-capped mountain off to the right, and down to the left on the lower plateau, a huge clear dome covering a city. near its base. We're going to move above the jungle as spherical beings. Torellian is behind us, kind of a coach, a guide, protector. And we're moving over the jungles following this brown moss-covered path till we come to this statue of a woman about 10 feet tall. And we can see her there, standing in the center of this 100-foot wide marble clearing floor. Off to the right, beyond what looked to be like tall, weeping willow trees with glowing spoon-shaped blue-green leaves, lining a riverbank, and you can see this blue-green water, luminous, flowing past a curved river, heads out to the ocean. This woman is about 10 feet tall, made of quartz, pure, polished. You can see there is the appearance of a woman standing just inside this transparent structure that has long silver, like silver metal hair. Only you know if you touched it, it was soft. She's taller than Earth human women, and she has violet eyes, pale moonstone-colored skin, elegant gown, and a gold band around her forehead with a teardrop shape pointing downward, which is emerald cut type, a faceted teardrop shape, not rectangular, set in that gold band. And you can see that inside, on the outside of the statue, her hands are up in the air, and they have a glowing golden light around them. And you can tell it's charging that beach off in the distance, so we just wiggled our toes in. We'll get back to that beach in a moment. This is a device. The statue is an interdimensional doorway from this higher parallel dimension of Earth to a planet where this woman comes from. It was a gift to this world. And that world is located in the same parallel dimension, 2 parallel dimensions down, in the same parallel dimension that Earth and the Moon you're familiar with are located in, but it's on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. And then you look at this glowing emerald crystal, teardrop shape, faceted, on the band around her head, and you suddenly find yourself inside this huge gold, kind of a green glowing light, size of a soccer stadium, and there she is standing in the middle of it, holding her hands up, and she lowers them, and you're actually looking at the manifestation of the body form of this woman with an Atma hovering above it, and there's her mate, a male, standing next to her slightly taller. They are from a planet, and they're telling you this, called Xeontornamus, or Xeontornamon 1. And they're showing you in this green energy what their planet looks like. It is a world 4 times bigger than Earth, no polar ice caps, and little continents all over its surface with little seas between them, covered in geometric patterns, equidistant apart dome cities, and each dome city covers 3 4-sided golden pyramids with a quartz crown. To the left, semicircle. And off to the right, they have little mountain ranges and little terrains, little dome dwellings. And this is seen on other worlds as well. This is a more advanced race, far more than Earth humans. And then you can see that there are 3 planets circling at different distances the size of Earth. No polar ice caps, dome cities on them as well. And off in the distance, you can see that those planets are circling what's called a trinary sun system. That means the principal sun is a big blue-white giant. Further out is a sun like our sun Sol, yellow, circling. Further out, a red dwarf. They're simply communicating to you their existence as fellow beings, human, not like on Earth, taller, violet eyes, silver hair, that kind of thing. And the body forms they're showing you, which are on their planet are over 3.5 million years old unaged. They immortalize their forms differently than the Say-Rays. They have command of the DNA and genomes, and they keep the telomeres from shrinking when the cells divide, when new cells are made. They do this to be guides, in a sense, as leaders of worlds that cover just over half of the Milky Way galaxy. And if we want to play with them, or any other more advanced races, we're not going to take our pollution and our nonsense out into space and try to throw it up on them, because they will not tolerate it. These are master genetic scientists. The Say-Rays are an older race and basically instructed them in this many, many, many millions of years ago. This race did not originate in the Milky Way. They come from a galaxy 5 galaxies beyond us, as explorers long ago and seeded many worlds. The Say-Rays did this on countless galaxies and even into the astral realities in the galaxies there long ago, developed higher genetic forms for Atmos to run them, and then vanished from existence for a time to see what everybody would do with it. The purpose was that Atmos would come into the lower worlds and run these body forms they had readied for them, and then create new ways of doing things, take that back across the void to the source behind all life to share new ways of doing things, so that the lower worlds of time and space can be made mirrors of the upper realities one day. The failed experiment of good and evil and all of that is being permanently retired beyond Earth. It's being replaced with a new ray of awareness in the omnipresent first sound. That new ray of awareness imparts the wisdom and the understanding to all beings, once they make contact with it, to only use the creative imagination to create or bring into creation that which will be of an uplifting benefit to all life on all worlds. The one energy behind creation, this omnipresent 0-point energy, is the power that brings into manifestation what we imagine. So we must be careful what we imagine. The hue energy, the first sound, all around us in space, in the green energy surrounding us within this device, on this planet Earth, that doesn't have polar ice caps, cannot be controlled, possessed, held in your fist, manipulated, or used to dominate others, or used in any negative way. Lesser energies respond to such things, but not the source energy. Find yourself hovering above this statue now, looking down on it, and look to the mountain with the snow-covered peak. Further up this plateau, off to the right slightly, you can see a waterfall cascading out of an opening 2/3 of the way towards the summit. And it is flowing out and dropping thousands of feet with a radiant blue-green light, because this is a type of luminous phosphorescent type of mineral in the water. It falls down behind blue-green forest trees that surround this one huge dome covering a city at its base. The city is simple. 3 4-sided golden pyramids with quartz caps. They are devices. And a blue-green kind of self-luminous lake from the same water in the center, and off to the other right half, countryside laced with white marble pathways woven between little ivory-colored dome dwellings. People from the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, headquartered on Zintanami 1 near the core of the galaxy, work here. Master teachers from many dimensional levels also work here. Saber's Ambassador Trillian comes here from time to time. I do. And all of you are now visiting this for the first time, perhaps, to get a perspective of what Earth and the moon will be like in the future. Earth and its dead moon are not meant to stay that way forever. This moon and this Earth have been here for eons, and it's going to be a prototype that will be utilized to change the Earth and the moon as you understand it now. When life on its surface is ready, things are moving forward towards this direction and it's speeding up. When you contact the sound, the first radiation of energy, of intelligence, consciousness, it isn't an individual being like you and I. You would not want to become one with it in a consciousness sense, because then you would cease to be an individual. Yet it is a living energy, and it comes from a source many dimensions, high above the lower dimensions of time and space, far beyond the void. Find yourself above this planet now in space, still circling around Torellian, who still has his two thumbs up with a white golden light glowing around them. He's smiling at you all. He sees who you are as Atmas like himself. He knows your potential. And he can see each one of you originally came from other worlds, used to fly spaceships, used to know this stuff. He knows you've been made to forget, so his energy that he's manifesting is to help you gradually recover this awareness while your outer physical life becomes ever more balanced. That is the sound that's all around us. Out beyond the negative atmosphere of Earth. We're going to take a journey now to the planet Jupiter in our solar system. We could go to the Hue Expansionary Academy up above and beyond the void, but this time I think we're going to keep it closer to home planet, as we've done recently, to help people get more grounded in just being able to get out of their body and experience other wondrous worlds and beings. And you're going to see this woman who was on the earth as the statue appear in a 36-year-old body about 10 foot tall with the Atma hovering behind it, and her mate, her husband, from the Xantronamus race. Silver hair, violet eyes, longer necks and fingers and legs than us. And you're going to see a being with pale blue skin appear with jet black long hair, emerald green eyes, slightly pointed ears, about 6 feet tall, standing there with the Atma hovering behind him. And this is a being from the planet Oceania, which is on the other side of the Milky Way, in the third higher parallel dimension where the Lemuria Earth is, that never switches its poles. He is a master teacher. You're going to see a beings called Shantial, Tonaltial, Dantiam, and Lamtiam. They are from beyond the Pleiades area, many thousands of suns and planets out there. Millions, actually. And they are from the Galactic Alliance and master technicians in the removal of subconscious terrorizing implants that Perry talked about before we went on this journey. You can meet with them. They look to be about 36, husbands and wives, both couples, and they know how to remove secondary implants and get a person ready to master what's called the primary implant, which is one of terrorizing death and destruction done to all of you at one time or another, that puts you on Earth with a fear, not only of getting out of your body, but remembering what you knew. Because part of that program tells you it'll happen again if you try that. This is not true. The tyrants who did that have been corralled. They're not on Earth anymore, and they've been removed. The few that were on Earth from our solar system, not by people on Earth. So when you're out of your body at night, you can get the assistance of these beings, if you ask for this help, through the hue, and they'll gradually help you recover awareness of who and what you are and what you knew. And you're suddenly going to find yourself hovering around Turelian, instantly moved, across the solar system, looking down on the ice, the chunks of ice that make up the rings that surround the big gas giant planet Saturn. Down underneath the surface layer of ice, it's about 1.5 miles thick, not very thick, you can see a mile-long cylindrical ship, pale blue antigravitic light around it, bridge curved windows on one end, the same on the other. Is designed for movement through interdimensional portals to get across vast areas of space and time. There are no open launch bays in this ship. The disc-shaped 30-foot wide scout craft you see hovering nearby it outside, with a blue antigravitic light around them, and 3 hemispheric pods, semispheric or hemispheric underneath. Move inside the central section of this ship by raising their molecular time rate. They pass through the molecules of the metal hull of the ship, a composite, and then lower it once they're inside and land in a hangar bay. This ship from the Galactic Alliance is stationed here permanently in our solar system. We're going to play a little visit, as we've done before, and meet some beings in a large 60-foot high, long, kind of a meeting room just to the left side of the central section of the ship that looks out through horizontally positioned, 6 foot in length, 3 foot high, oval observation windows that surround just above the equator of the ship, the entire circumference, behind the bridge control windows on each end. And you're going to find ourselves suddenly standing on a plush blue carpet. It feels alive under your feet. There's energy emanating from it. And you can look out through the windows positioned right next to each other and see the gas giant Saturn and the ice surrounding the ship. The electromagnetic field, the antigravitic field around the ship, shields it in a kind of bubble so the ice chunks do not hit the hull. You can see the many moons of Jupiter moving at different altitudes around the planet. You can see on the carpet oval-topped blue glass type tables and egg-shaped white chairs with blue cushions and people sitting in them right in front of us. We're all standing in a kind of a group, and there are several hundred of the ship's personnel standing a few feet apart from us from different world systems. Some have snake-like skin and snake-like eyes, but very lovely looking. No scales, bipedal, 2 arms, 2 legs, fingers, and all that. Some have blue skin or green. And some have no hair with long earlobes. Some have oval or slanted eyes. Some have violet or green or blue or golden or red eyes. They're wearing a uniform, and on the chest area is a golden pyramid, the quartz cap. Above it, in a triangular position, 3 blue stars. And below it, it's hovering over the center of a silvery white galaxy. This is a galactic interdimensional alliance of free worlds symbol. They are personnel from many worlds. They are all experts in their field, whether it's biology, medicine, physics, quantum physics, portal physics, interdimensional physics, antigravitic, whatever that is, whatever it may be. None of these beings carry microbes in their system. They do not have disease. They do not get sick. That is a genetic science they've mastered long ago. Viruses and bacteria that are the first forms of life experimented with hundreds of billions of years ago are no longer necessary, and they were done away with. So they don't have bodies that can be attacked from inside by microscopic little creatures. This is part of the technology they can bring to Earth, including keeping the telomeres from shrinking when cells divide. But more importantly is the awareness you will recover of what you are that is not a brain or a body, so you can run one properly. You are in bare feet, this perfect body form extended from the sphere you are. And when you look at all these beings, men and women, there's an Atma hovering above them, just like you. You can hear the sound gently pulsing through the atmosphere you're breathing. They have actual physical bodies on this craft you're seeing, but they can see the energy body that looks like you, and they can see the Atma you are hovering behind it. Terrellian's still standing patiently, 18 feet tall behind us with his two thumbs up with a golden white energy surrounding them. This being is respected by everyone on this ship. You can see in the blue glass top table in front of us a couple standing up to greet us. They are the commander and his wife of this ship. This is an Emerald Star cruiser. It's about a mile long. Bigger craft are over 10 miles long. These are more advanced than the crafts that operated in history in our solar system in the past or present. This one's stationed in the ice rings of Saturn for one purpose. One, to keep us from blowing ourselves up. And there's also a base inside Mount Shasta built in 1908 in Northern California. Galactic Alliance personnel man it, not to interfere in governments, but to keep us from blowing ourselves up in nuclear war. They've prevented it a number of times already. We are not alone in the universe. When people drop fear of the present and future, including the leaders of Earth, these beings will land all over the planet and help us recover who we are, what our great potential is, and then the science of genetics, life, long life, and technologies, teleportation technologies, and all that kind of thing can be brought to Earth. They're old technologies, mind you. They are not new. They are very ancient out in the cosmos. You're going to find a man and a woman, one or the other, walk up to each one of you on this journey, smile, and raise their right hand in greeting. It would be wise if you did the same in return. You'll hear them speak in your center of your being as if they were talking with vocal cords, and you'll hear it perfectly. They have musical voices, soothing. And they will tell each one of you what it is they do, what their expertise is, and how they can assist you when you're out of your body every night to recover who you are in a protected, safe manner. All you have to do is ask them to go ahead and assist you, that you would love their assistance. They're not going to force anything on you. They're not going to spy on your privacy. Telepathy doesn't work that way. Telepathy is not psychic. It's not part of a positive and negative, up and down, good and bad kind of thing. It's a pure line of communication between the source energy and each being, moving and living and have their being in it. It is our true way of communicating. Vocal cords are also used, but they do both, and so should you. You will hear them say something to you, meant for you alone. Some of you on this journey are those who find it later, who may have great finance on the world Earth, and are evolving to a courageous point to detach yourself from it as an illusion of power. Will be guided, and you will cooperate consciously to utilize those funds in ways that will help change the whole planet for the good of all life. And in the process, you will also gain back who you are. Everything's in preparation. Those who go on these journeys now, including Perry, had the courage to contact me simply because I placed videos of conferences I helped create and produced the videos so people could find about this, cross paths with it, and explore it further. I can always be contacted through my paralleltime.com website, through the contact link page, and I will reply. Here, with your feet in this plush carpet, the commanders of this ship are now talking with all of us. Of the 200 plus people that are personnel you're meeting with here, in this lounge area, one of many on this mile-long ship, they tell you that these races represent human, humanoid, and other races from a vast assortment of worlds, over 450 million spacefaring races in just 1/4 of our Milky Way galaxy. And they're telling you that you are welcome to come back to this ship and learn more. Maybe you could ask Torellian or Perry or the couple of human man and wife I've introduced, Shantial, Tonaltial, Dantiam, Lamtiam, that's their names. Before you go to bed at night, send out some you and ask to meet with these people for your uplifting benefit. Find yourself now around Torellian in the beauty of space, high above the ice rings of the planet Saturn, looking down on this mile-long ship. On our next journey, on this next radio show, as we call it, we will travel out in space and then into the upper realities beyond the void. So if any of you want to rejoin us next week, that is where we'll be headed. Once you can cross the void and begin to operate in energy that has no negative nature, everything can change in dramatic, wondrous ways for all of you. Find yourself hovering above the planet Earth now, with the continent of Lemuria and Atlantis, or Atla, on the other side, which is a colony of it. This is not the history of Atlantis as you've heard about. This goes back over 100,000 years, prior to the last major polar shift of this planet, Earth. And it has no pollutants in the atmosphere. The moon is covered with oxygen atmosphere and cities, domes. This is a prototype that will be, how do I put it, superimposed over the Earth and the moon, you know now, to change it at the right time. It's already prepared. And then you see the energy kind of not dim, but just lower. And then you see the Earth you're familiar with polar ice caps, and the barren crater, meteor crater pockmarked moon that does not turn on its axis as it revolves around the Earth. The space around us here in the void of space, the 0 point energy, is white golden light, powerful, filling the void of space. Everything revolving and creating gravitational fields floats in this energy. Here, you cannot deny it. As the Atma, you simply know it. Then you find yourself in the atmosphere at 10,000 feet. And there you are as a spherical being looking down on where you live. You can see right through the roof of where you are and see this body sitting in the trance state called sleep or lying down. And you look to the left and the right, and there is a man and a woman standing there with a 30-year-old perfect body with an Atma hovering above it, just like you. And these are guides we've met on this trip. 2 assigned to each one of you. They will not impose their will on yours. They will help you or assist you if you ask it of them. And then you find yourself hovering near the ceiling above the body you have on Earth, looking kindly down on that sleeping form. And you see a thin white golden light of energy emanated from the white core of your being, the sphere you are, down into the pineal gland in the center of the brain, and it radiates in a gentle circle until it extends to over 2 miles wide. And it stays there as a kind of protection. Then the energy continues past that, and it goes into 3 new structures or devices that have been planted on Earth. 2 at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans in the Atlantic and Pacific, golden pyramids, 4-sided quartz cap. There is a type of a fountain inside each one. Another one is inside a hollow interior of a mountain in the Himalayan mountains. They are turned on. And you see the energy continue from the 2-mile wide aura around you. It connects to these fountains in the center of these pyramids, which are white alabaster, about 15 foot wide, with a statue of a man standing in it, with bronzed golden skin, golden eyes, 2 gold bracelets on his upper eyes, a little white tunic dress from his waist down, bare-chested, strongly built, with his hands open, palms out at his sides, pouring this white golden light into this fountain, pours like an even sheet around the outer edge and vanishes through the bottom. It's pulsing out in donut-shaped waves of light that go out beyond the Earth, out to the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter, to a big pyramid that's stationed there floating in space between 2 stationary asteroids, connects to a fountain there, and then it's beamed out into space to connect to pyramids much larger between stars. And then it's beamed upward beyond this galaxy. And you look down on that body kindly, understanding that your responsibility is to discover and awaken to how to be a co-creator with the source behind all life. This requires that we understand the nature of the multidimensional universe and who and what lives in it. We are required to respect all life in it, including the life on Earth and each other. When you're ready, open your eyes.
I'm back too.
Oh, good. That's the way the creative imagination really works. That's how out-of-body travel really works. How aware and confident you are in it is a matter of time and experience in recovering the confident knowing you once had in this regard long ago. So I will leave that with everybody. And Perry, if you have any other questions, now would be the time.
Today I have asked a lot. Thank you.
Okay, so I will have the website addresses of, let's see, what is that? Oh, okay. Of the websites, I have 3 support websites that all tie back into paralleltime.com, the primary website. And you can find documentary videos of conferences I've done presentations at that are experientially based. I'm known as a hidden truth revealing researcher and author, experiential based hidden truth revealing researcher and author. And that means exactly what it says. You'll find videos there, short and longer ones at conferences that you can watch at no charge. There's no money involved, and gain a greater understanding. You can get the Savior's Agenda and the Emerald Doorway books by clicking on the book link at the top of the site. It'll go right to both pages, which you can blow up and see the front and back and the chapter titles. And then there's links provided to Amazon and iBooks and Barnes and Noble in the US and other different things, so you can get different kinds of ebooks or trade paperback printed books, printed on demand and shipped to you locally. And you don't have to hunt for those links. They connect directly to the proper links at the sales page for those sites like Amazon and others. And then you can just get them sent locally the quickest and most efficient way if you want to. So I will leave you all with that and wish you all pleasant dreams and pleasant journeys until next time, when we will go to what is called the Hue Expansion Ray Academy.
Scott, I would like to say thank to you and thanks for everyone for watching. And if you think this video is benefit you and others, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having the courage, Perry, to do these with me. For the benefit of people in Thailand and people all over the world, planet Earth. See you later, Perry.
See
We'll
you.
talk
Bye.
soon. Bye.
Yes.